Mic's on. All right, it's 9 o'clock on this Wednesday night, and that's Tony P.
Hello, everybody.
What about
Hi, everybody.
me?
Am I hosting again?
What about me?
Oh, my God.
What
This
about
is
me?
Tony P, welcome to the Live Zone Primetime. If it's live and happening now, it's happening right here on Fox 5
I
local.
have been replaced.
See, I'm already getting the numbers. You know, I'm understanding it now.
Notice he didn't even say my name, though.
I did.
He just said, this is the Tony P Show. That's what he said. That's
You
what
know,
I heard.
Again,
welcome to the
my
Live
goal
Zone
is to provoke
Primetime.
dissension in the ranks. That is my goal.
Mission accomplished, sir.
Thank you.
Tony P, how's your day, first and
Not,
foremost?
I'll tell you, it's been a long one, my friend.
been a long one?
And I'll tell you, like, you know, towards the end of the day, and I took a little nap before I came here, which was good. I had a brain fog, like we're seeing outside right now with this weather.
So,
and I was
major
going all
fog.
day. I'll tell you, you know, from breakfast on, got up about 8, 9 o'clock, had
Mm-hmm.
some meetings all day for my more consulting gig that I do on the side, and then had more meetings on top of meetings and editing videos for content. I have an interview coming out tomorrow on YouTube, and trying to get that done. And had to also call some family and talk to a friend tonight for almost an hour long. So I had a pretty full day, my friend. Maybe
It sounds like it.
You're a little bit exhausted, but I think it's good. The day goes by fast, and you feel really productive. It's I think it's one of my most productive days I've had in probably a couple weeks.
Kind of see some of the fog
like
there.
that was
A
kind of my
little,
brain at
but-
like 6 o'clock.
Yeah, I mean, I completely understand that. Listen, this is not our top story. We don't even have it in the
No,
show
it's not.
tonight, but it's one of my favorite stories. You know how we have been talking to the
boy.
Potomac River Keepers Network
Yes,
about
we
that
have, yeah.
ongoing issue with the Potomac River? There was that major interceptor break. DC Water's been working on it for more than a month now, and one of the major problems has been the flushable wipes. Remember that are
Oh, I
not
stopped flushing them.
flushable.
I stopped
That
flushing
is
after
They
this.
are not flushable, so that has been the big story. So now a DC council member has proposed putting a 15% sales tax on flushable wipes. The alternative has been they are also proposing a tax break or incentive for bidets.
Now I got to tell you something.
I love this story.
I have.
Josh Rosenthal is covering it.
Is he?
He'll have-
Is actually a story we're covering?
He'll have more on that story coming up on Fox
My
5 News
buddy's
at 10.
got a big house here in Bethesda, and he just got a new bidet put in, and it's got the whole system.
Well, they've got a whole thing now where
It's
you can
got
buy those little
perfume.
hookups for.
Oh, yeah.
your- So
It's a spa
like
experience.
I said, I mean, this might be bordering on TMI for 9:02
Yeah, it is.
At the top of the hour here. But here's my issue.
what
Okay,
do you got?
as a new dad of an 8-week-old, I go through about a packet of wipes
Yep.
every single day because that child. She's got an active system. Let's just put
Yeah.
it that way.
It's a bleep storm.
It is, but exactly. But you know, we've got the diaper genie, and they all just go in there. But so maybe, and this was the suggestion of somebody on our 7:30 half hour when we
boy.
talked about this show. They need to come up with like a diaper genie for adults. That those
God.
wipes go into, so that they're not going down the pipes. Anyway, that's a random story.
That's
appreciate
quite
it,
the
but
visual to start my
it
day,
is,
and I'll tell
it
you, I
is.
mean,
You are welcome, Tony P.
I could almost feel and I hate this word, you know, but the visible cringe from the audience. But
Yeah.
you know what?
I'm not sorry.
It was necessary, though.
You can tune into that story coming up on
I
Fox
can't
5 News
wait.
at 10 and 11 with Josh Rosenthal. In the meantime, should we get to our top story? It's a
Yes,
much
we
more
should.
serious one,
Yes.
obviously, tonight, because we are talking about Operation Epic Fury, Day 5 now. Day 5 already, Tony P.
I know.
The United States has stepped up its attacks on Iran as Operation Epic Fury marks Day 5. The president talking earlier today about a submarine sinking an Iranian warship in international waters. At the same time, back here at home, lawmakers have given the president a tacit stamp of approval for this military campaign. This is just one of the big political stories we have been following today. So for more on this story and what else is making headlines on this Wednesday night, foreign policy intelligence analyst Marley Hornick and government and strategic policy analyst Brian Maloney join us now live on the Live Zone Primetime. Marley, Brian, thank you so much for joining us. All right, so Marley, I'm going to start off with you. So the Senate may have given its tacit approval with this failed vote to kind of rein in the president's powers, but at the same time, the American people are still split on this military action in Iran. Should this matter to the president at all?
Should it matter to the president that the American people are split? I'm not sure. I think we may be seeing this lingering idea that really began with the Vietnam War, that, the only outcome of a military conflict is prolonged failure and death. And I think, with reason, people may be having some anxiety that that could be headed our way, but I don't think that's realistic at all. This is an incredible conflict, what we're watching. No one could have predicted, for example, that all of the Middle Eastern countries would join the United States of America opposing Iran. I think Iran took a gamble and they tried to create enough mayhem in their surrounding nations to say, to try to get them to say, hey, this is costing us, and now we want the U.S. to stop. But instead, they lost that gamble, and every surrounding nation is supporting the U.S. So I don't think that the worries that many of the American people are having are well founded. Of course, we don't know everything that's going to unfold, but at the moment, it's not looking good for Iran, the nation. There are definitely those sleeper cells that a lot of people have been talking about. We have the crazies like the guy in Austin who's so completely absorbed in that fundamentalist philosophy and theology that he's willing to act on his own. But I don't think that the people who are concerned that this is actually a protracted failed war are being very honest with themselves. We're in day 5.
Brian, what do you think from the president's perspective is a victory in this case? Because again, we're seeing some mixed signals, different cabinet secretaries. It's not regime change versus it may be regime change. What do you see as the strategic goals, and what does victory look like in this Operation Epic Fury for the president and the United States?
Well, first of all, the American people are split on virtually everything. So if you go by that, we would never do a thing. I mean, there are very few things that an overwhelming majority of Americans want, like voter ID at the ballot box. That's one thing, but there aren't that many things. So, so the president has to be guided by his best judgment and knowing that whatever he decides, whatever he thinks, half the country will be opposed to. And that's any president, Democrat or Republican. That's the reality of our country today. But I think one thing to your question that's really important for Trump is to not declare victory prematurely, because we saw that happen to George W. Bush in the Iraq War, even though that banner behind him that said mission accomplished was on that ship for a different reason. The press ran with that day and accused him of prematurely declaring victory. And that is something that you would never want to do here, because the bottom line is, while the early successes were significant and incredible, I mean, the precision on this has been just beyond. It's like science fiction these days. I mean, in Venezuela and Iran, where you can just go in and precision strike a particular building, and the apartment building, 5 feet away is untouched, and you've destroyed their headquarters or their police station or whatever else, or you've eliminated 40 of their top leaders without disrupting the rest of the neighborhood. Incredible times we live in terms of technology. So I think this is going to be a long haul. The Iranian regime is not going away quietly. Not really a surprise. They don't really care what anyone thinks. However, I do agree with Marley Hornick very, very much that Iran has made a major mistake angering all of its neighbors and even launching attacks on them. I mean, we've seen these land in Dubai, they're hitting hotels and apartment buildings. I think that's just stupid.
All right, let's talk about Attorney General Pam Bondi now. She is facing a subpoena from the House Oversight Committee related to her handling of the Jeffrey Epstein files. The House Oversight Committee voted today to subpoena her. Some members of Congress have expressed frustration and outrage that the department only released a little more than 3 million pages of the 6 million it possesses related to the investigations of the disgraced financier and convicted sex offender who died by suicide while awaiting trial on federal sex trafficking charges. Brian, we'll start with you. The Attorney General's handling of the Epstein files, is there any concern that she broke the law by not releasing them? And what do lawmakers hope to learn from her testimony?
Well, the bottom line here is that 3 million documents we are still going through and trying to get to the bottom of everything that is in there. And we've also had a struggle keeping public attention focused on the Epstein files. We've had a lot of trouble, and not just because of war, but because Americans now have the attention span of a gnat and on just about anything. So if there are 3 million files yet to be released, I mean, that's an incredible number, but we already have millions. If there are more to be released, then sure, she should answer questions as to why. You know, this isn't so much a partisan issue because Republicans are as frustrated with Pam Bondi as Democrats are. So I think she's going to have a rough go of it on this. But, you know, I mean, she has not often been decisive enough on key issues, and that has bothered a lot of people who were otherwise Trump supporters. This could be rocky.
Marley, do you think because of that bipartisan backlash and also from the president's base of supporters who were angry at the Iran war as well as this, do you think that this could be a moment, this testimony could determine whether Pam Bondi keeps her job as Attorney General or not?
It's a great question. But, you know, what I really think is going on here is the dig for the records that implicate Trump and show that he really is this terrible, awful, horrible person. And this is a narrative that has been playing out since 2015, and it's getting pretty old. You know, I think that this is probably going to be the same nothing burger as when his taxes were finally released after, you know, how many months of arguments between congressional committees. So, you know, I think that's why there's still this push. I do believe that, you know, Nancy Mace, for example, she obviously has a major stake in this issue, having dealt with sexual abuse in her own history and done that, you know, talked about it really publicly. I think she has a stake in the survivor issue. But I think a lot of the Democrats involved here, they're just looking for dirt on Trump. And I don't think it's going to turn up. I think that we would, or, you know, if there was dirt on Trump, the Democrats would have released it, you know, administrations ago. So I don't know how this is going to play out on Bondi. I think Trump has been pretty loyal to a lot of these figures, and I think he probably still supports her and believes in her. And I'm just surprised because she just recently appeared in front of the House Judiciary Committee on the same issue. So is this just a, you know, is this a campaign issue for the now House admin? Is that why they're doing this? I'm not sure.
Well, speaking of campaign issues, last night one of our big stories was the primary elections in Texas, North Carolina, and beyond. Marley, I'll start with you. What do these results, what do they mean to you, and what do they mean for the midterms?
Well, I think, you know, they obviously show, and, you know, I think all eyes right now are really on Texas because this competition for the Texas Senate seat has created all the drama, right? We have Tallarico v. Crockett, and Tallarico comes out on top now. They're trying to paint him as some kind of Democratic Jesus. You know, I think that's probably an overstatement of his talents. So we'll see how that plays out. But obviously, they're going to want to try to pit him against Paxton, who has, you know, something of a checkered past, but is obviously a huge supporter of the president, a very strong America First candidate, especially compared to Cornyn. And it's going to be really interesting because it looks like the president is going to finally make an endorsement. And he actually officially posted on Truth Social that whoever he doesn't endorse, he is demanding that that candidate drop out of the race to save this Senate seat, to save money, to save the contention and the rancor that's going to occur between now and I think May, when that runoff would be. So it's really going to be interesting to see what happens there. But, you know, I think the fact that Paxton almost beat Cornyn with that third-party candidate in the race is a sign that there's a good possibility Paxton is going to get that endorsement.
Brian, in this process, what should the president look to do strategically while making this decision to endorse either Paxton or Cornyn? As we're seeing issues with his base and some of the more, I'd say, the independent, right-leaning independents. What should be the president's strategy when thinking about who to endorse here?
Well, thank you for asking me that because I am fired up about this one. President Trump is getting unbelievably bad advice from some of his aides and is poised to endorse John Cornyn, the incumbent senator in Texas, and to compel Ken Paxton to quit the race and not have the May runoff election occur and save everybody a lot of money. I get that part of it. But look, John Cornyn is extremely unpopular with Trump voters. The MAGA base, the America First base, despises John Cornyn and is a big fan of Ken Paxton, the longtime Texas Attorney General. So if Trump does, I think, step in it here and endorse John Cornyn, it will have a disastrous impact. And I know why Trump might endorse Cornyn over Paxton, even though it doesn't make logical sense. It does when you consider Trump likes to endorse who he thinks will win. Trump is not actually that ideological of a person at the end of the day. People mistake that often, but he's not. And the bottom line is, if he thinks Cornyn will win, he'll endorse him. The problem is 60% of voters last night voted against the incumbent John Cornyn between the other two candidates that were on the ballot. And in a two-way race, I truly believe Ken Paxton will win that May nomination vote. And Paxton is poised to win in November. This is going to be a race, by the way. When we're heading into November, hundreds of millions of dollars will be spent on this Senate race alone. This will be the main event. It's like a wrestling event going on here. People will be taking bets between now and November. I am just begging Trump not to make the tragic error of endorsing John Cornyn, which I think he's going to do in the next 24, 48 hours.
So, Brian, it seems to me that you think that a John Cornyn candidacy may actually fare worse against James Tallarico instead of a Paxton candidacy, because, again, we're hearing that Paxton's the toxic one, he's easier to run against, but it seems like you're on the opposite of that. It could be worse if Cornyn runs.
Because they'll tell you why, exactly. And it's a great point that you make there, by the way, and I appreciate it. But look, the bottom line here is Trump endorsing John Cornyn means that the MAGA base, the MAGA vote, America First vote, stays home on Election Day because they will be angry, dejected, upset, frustrated, fed up. They've been out there supporting Trump for 10 years, and then this would be construed as a backstabbing, essentially, on behalf of what they consider to be the rhinos, the Republicans in name only. And if he does this, voter turnout on the Republican side will shrink. You will not be able to get people motivated to go to the polls for John Cornyn, and that this will be a tragic, tragic error by the Trump administration if he does this.
All right, let's go from Texas to our own backyard here in the Commonwealth of Virginia. As of right now, it looks like Virginia voters will get to decide if the Commonwealth redraws the election map. So, Marley, I'll start with you. Do Democrats have the support? Do they have the widespread support to push this through if it goes to a vote in April?
There are so many questions about Virginia elections. It's really difficult for me when circumstances like this come up. There was a circumstance like this in Nevada. They wanted to have an election to figure out whether or not they were going to have voter ID, right? So all these citizens went out, they got 100,000 signatures. They got this as a ballot referendum, and then they had a vote about whether to have voter ID. Well, when the elections are in question, you have these problems. And, with Virginia, for example, in the recent contest for the governor's race, something like 75% of all the mail-in votes went to Spanberger, which is an unbelievable amount. And this all had to do with this early voting. So do the Democrats have the support? I don't know. Are they going to ram through redistricting in Virginia? Probably. This is one of the most extreme progressive administrations for Virginia that is happening anywhere in the country. And I don't think they're going to blink an eye at making sure that that ballot referendum goes straight through and that they get this. They want to narrow it down to one Republican seat in Virginia. This is like what happened in California. They narrowed California down to 4 Republican seats out of 52. Which is an outrageous attack on conservatives, which there are millions of living in California. And the same problem is going to have in Virginia. You're going to have really, really angry people. So they ram this through, but then they're not going to be able to control their citizens. They're going to be so angry and upset about being basically disenfranchised.
Brian, given our discussion about the Texas dynamics that may play out and you think are probably going to play out with this endorsement from President Trump, do you think that Texas Republicans, when they did decide to start the redistricting effort midway in Texas, do you think they may live to regret that based on what we've seen in California and potentially Virginia?
Well, not so much in terms of the House races. The House races are really not in question for Texas Republicans. Now, the thing is that was fascinating last night was that we saw a little bit, even from the Democrat side a little bit, we saw a throw the bums out kind of vote going on. So that is something that is fascinating here. But in terms of Virginia, you know, I do weekly radio appearance with Jeff Katz, who's a longtime radio host in Richmond. And he has pointed out, in terms of Virginia voting, the reason why Abigail Spanberger is currently the governor of Virginia is that voters in the more conservative rural southern districts, precincts stayed home last November. And what I'm seeing so far is more of the same. I don't see a motivated voter base. I don't know why Trump's voters have stayed home. Well, I do know why it happened last November. Trump stayed out of the race. He stayed completely out of Virginia races, was not present in them at all. And it really does come down to this is what's interesting, because I'm kind of arguing. You might think I'm arguing both sides of my mouth here, because on the one hand, I'm saying that what Trump might do in Texas is fatal. On the other hand, I'm saying he needs to be in Virginia. So he needs to campaign in Virginia to defeat this ridiculous gerrymandering measure. Otherwise, I think his base stays home. In Texas, I'm staying with this idea that an endorsement of John Cornyn would be something Trump would live to regret. It would be disastrous. So it all depends on the state or Commonwealth and the particulars.
All right, Brian Maloney and Marley Hornick, thanks so much for spending some time here with us tonight on the Live Zone Primetime, lending your expertise and sorting through all these major political headlines.
Thanks, guys.
All right,
Thank you.
Tony P., we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to switch things up a little bit because we're talking a little sports right here in our own backyard.
And a
the
cool
PLL
sport, I might add.
returning to the DMV. We'll be back in 2 minutes. All right, welcome back to the Live Zone Primetime on this Wednesday night. I can go ahead and drop that.
Yeah, there we go, yes.
Let's get rid of that. But this next one is for all the lacrosse fans out there.
There's
the
a lot
lacrosse
of them.
lovers.
The
There are a lot of them because
Sure
the
are.
Premier Lacrosse League back here in the DMV.
Absolutely. We have the championship series. I think it's the 4th year they are here in the D.C. area in Springfield, Virginia at the St. James Day Championship Series. It's basically the beginning of the PLL, WLL season, Premier Lacrosse League and Women's Lacrosse League, which are taking the country and the world by storm, especially with 2028 Olympics coming, where lacrosse will be back in the Olympics in this particular format. And we're going to talk about all of that, the PLL, WLL, and all the championship series items you can think of. We have Sydney Black of the Maryland Charm of the Women's Lacrosse League and BJ Ferrer of the California Redwoods of the Premier Lacrosse League joining us tonight. Both of you, thank you so much for joining us here tonight in the Live Zone Primetime. I'm so excited to talk about this sport that I haven't played, but I have grown to love over the years.
Thanks for having us on.
Awesome. Now I'll start with BJ first. I'll start in terms of this game of lacrosse, right? When you look at, for folks who haven't watched it before, right? What do you think makes this sport on the pro level so unique and exciting to watch for all audiences?
Well, to start, I just think the championship series is just a great experience in total, and it's very high paced. It's very up and down. You get to see the true athleticism of all the guys, and you also get to see a lot of goals, which is super entertaining for all of our viewers. And the goalies get the ball up and out really well. So it's just very high octane and very up and down for everyone to see.
And when we're kind of looking at this, Sydney, like in your view from the WLL, which is also gaining such a big following now, what do you think it is about the WLL's pace of play and the overall structure that makes it a really exciting watch for fans and people that are just learning about the game?
Absolutely. I think sixes, especially, a lot less rules than you see the college and the youth levels. So the speed and the pace of play is just insane, and it is so fun to play. Hopefully just as fun to watch for fans. I know it is. I get a lot of good feedback from fans after each of these games that it's just a unique style of play, and really looking forward to watching it every time.
And when thinking about the championship series and, behind the scenes, what is it like for both of you? We'll start with Sydney and then go to BJ. Like, what does the day in the life look like when you're on the road like this, performing for 2 weeks in front of all these, incredible crowds? What does that look like for you?
Yeah, with 3 round robin games, 3 guaranteed games, it's a lot on the body, obviously a lot on the mind. You got to have a fast memory, the memory of a goldfish. Win or lose, next game is coming up. So got to be ready to rest, recover, reset as a team. Looks different for everyone, but we have a lot of great access to different recovery tools and the mental side of things on the game. So just being able to reset.
I love that. And BJ, to you, like in looking at the championship series format, it is a little bit different. We kind of mentioned that at the outset. It's a little bit faster paced than what you see in traditional lacrosse. What is it about this type of game that really is different from traditional lacrosse? And what does it mean for the pace of play and how all of you as players approach the strategy of it?
I would just think the biggest thing here is the transition that's created through the game. And, different than traditional lacrosse, there's no face-off really in between goals. So the goalie's getting the ball up and out very quickly, and it's not really much time to sub or even get back to the defensive end of the field. So you're really making sure you're stopping that transition, and I think that's the biggest thing that kind of separates this game from the field game.
And Sydney, when looking at this event being in the DMV area for so long now, right? What is it like coming back every year to a place like the DMV, Virginia in particular, that is so passionate about lacrosse and loves this sport? What is it like to play in front of that type of audience and really engage with the fans?
Absolutely. I am a DMV local personally,
Exactly.
so always love getting to play in the backyard, which is a lot of fun. But obviously DMV being one of the hotbeds for the sport, you get a lot of passionate fans, and fans really that come from all over the country to come see us play. You've got the best players in the world all in one field all weekend long, so definitely don't want to miss it.
And BJ, one of the things that I have loved, again, I never played a minute of lacrosse in my life. I watched other friends of mine play it. But one of the things I notice is the incredible engagement that players from the PLL and WLL have with the audience. Could you describe what that engagement is like with fans, and what could fans expect when they come to the arena this weekend?
I think it's one of the best parts of the game that we have is, seeing the fans, seeing the familiar faces that you see from different times too, and, developing those relationships and having them kind of know you on a personal level is great. And, they're going to expect a very great game this weekend. Lots of great games, lots of energy, lots of goals, and lots of hard work from a lot of great athletes.
And Sydney, like looking at your incredible career, here in the DMV, you've grown into a really, fantastic player for WLL. What part of your offensive game do you feel defines, you the most as a player today?
I think especially in the sixes format, just the speed and the pace of play that I like to play at. Lacrosse is fast already, known as the fastest game on 2 feet. So
yeah.
as much as I can utilize my speed, I love it.
And and looking at you, this will be for both of you. Like in terms of your positions, you play both incredibly fast and reactive positions on offense and defense. What are you thinking of in the middle of a play when you're moving so fast in this format that kind of like to allow you to make the game make sense in terms of like how can you make sense of the plays when you're coming at it so quickly? And we'll start with BJ on this one.
I think the thing that's going on in my head is just, stop the ball carrier and look out for picks. Because, in this game,
Right.
You don't really know which side is coming from, but there's going to be a pick involved at some point. So I just think it's kind of just being hyper aware of the situation, what's going on, who's coming on and off the field at all times, and just knowing your matchups.
And Cindy, to you on that same question.
I think offensively for me, I'm thinking, how fast can I go with still controlling the ball and keeping a good pace? 30 seconds on the shot clock for sixes in this format for us at Champ Series. So not a lot of time, but a lot of time in the same way, being able to control the pace of the game and play as fast but as slow as possible.
And BJ, like this sport, from my perspective, again, both correct me if I'm wrong here, because again, I'm a novice that just happens to watch, that lacrosse is a great combination of the speed of hockey. You also have the football element, a very good contact sport. What does preparation look like for players before a game, behind the scenes? How does that look to get in tip-top shape to make sure you're ready to play 100% throughout this fast game?
I think being in, the best shape possible. You really got to spend those days running and getting in shape and, doing your 300s, doing those different exercises to kind of be in shape, because differently than, the field game here, you're up and down a lot more. So it was very important to me to make sure I was in the best shape possible to be ready to run for my teammates when I needed to.
Love that. And, looking at this overall, Sydney, for fans that are new to the game, right, what is one strategic element of lacrosse that once you understand it, allows people to really make sense of the game, how it flows, how the scores happen, all those things?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting for sixes, especially in this format. There's a lot of different variations of lacrosse, a lot of different ways to play the game with your regular 10-on-10 indoor, whatever it may be. But I think sixes combines the best features of all of the facets of the game in terms of the speed, power, and finesse capabilities of the players. You really see the skill set of these awesome athletes just on display every single game.
And I'll ask you both this about the game generally, because again, PLL, WLL is expanding. They've been around for a while, but there is this really great grassroots support. BJ, I'll start with you. What do you attribute the success of PLL and WLL in the last few years in getting new fans and really drawing people into this game on a professional level?
I really think it goes to, the hard work of everyone that's involved with the PLL, really making sure these weekends run smoothly, everything that goes into the logistics of the championship, I'm sure is, very crazy, very hard to do, but, they run very smooth. It's a great process. And, we go out there and we put on the best show we can for the fans. And, that's just really part of the whole process for us.
And Sydney, what are your thoughts on this? What do you think has been just the real driving force of WLL's popularity, not just in really influencing so many young women to play the sport, but also getting so many new fans so quickly?
Yeah, I think we stand on the backs of giants in the sport, especially on the women's side, all the people who've come before us to help really build up the sport, and some of them leading the league now, like Rachel DeCecco, who's a legend in her own right. But really being able to have a platform for us to showcase the talent and the skills that we have has been huge, and we're so gracious to the league for giving that to us, because now everyone can see how incredibly talented and how awesome lacrosse is.
It is, because I just think as we look to the future, it's becoming like, I compare it to how UFC grew. It was organic, it happened, and people, it's a cult following that's now so universal. Mm-hmm. So I think on both, WLL and PLL, wonderful job on that front. Now, before I let you go, if someone in the DC area, DMV, really Virginia, right, has never been to a professional lacrosse game, what would be your quick pitch to them who hasn't seen a game before, just to check it out as a fan and get engaged with it, whether they have kids or not, just to see this game? And BJ, I'll start with you. What would be your pitch to those new fans? Just want to see a new event this weekend.
I think my pitch would be, come out to see a very unique game, very high-paced game with a lot of, great athletes on the field with a lot of goals and a very similar, structure to basketball where we're up and down nonstop, constantly subbing, constantly in and out of the game, and just putting together a great show for the fans.
And Sydney, how about you? What would be your final pitch to these new fans that would love to come out and see WLL and learn from this sport?
I know we just wrapped up the Winter Olympics over in Italy, so if you want to get a glimpse at 2028, The best players in the world are right in your backyard right now.
That's both of you really good pitches on the, again, for two different reasons. Thank you so much to Sydney Black and BJ Ferreira, sorry, of the WLL and PLL here, Premier Lacrosse League, Women's Lacrosse League, that are here, right here in the DMV for the championship series in Springfield at the St. James. Thank you so much to both of you for not only telling us about this champ series, but really getting into what lacrosse means to both of you, to the communities, and just this game as it continues to grow. Thank you so much for coming on to both of you. Good luck this weekend. I'll be in tomorrow night to watch a little bit of the game, and I just cannot wait to see you guys shine.
Thanks so much.
Thank you very much.
All right, Tony P. Lacrosse's #1 fan. He's
No.
Laxbro for life.
I'll tell you, man, I did a video with the California Redwoods jersey on there, and it was very ugly, my playability. I was not very good. I have no flexibility to play this game at all.
My wife was
Both BJ and Sydney would
fan.
be so, I mean, they would have a lot of, at that angle we didn't have the video because they would have a lot of critiques, and they would be very kind about it, as I can probably tell.
Of course they would.
But there'd be a lot to check on that.
There's definitely one sport that I've never played in my life and I know nothing about, which is why I left it to the expert Tony P.
I mean,
to handle
look,
that
I mean,
one.
and I'll tell you, whether it's WLL and PLL, their growth has been just absolutely incredible. The story how Paul Rabel, who was part of Major League Lacrosse, who took that chance and decided to start his own league, challenged the status quo. He was a Hall of Fame player in Major League Lacrosse, and then brought it over to PLL. Just a true visionary in how he has not only grown the game for men's lacrosse and women's lacrosse, but has also paid homage to the history of it, being from years and years of ancestral background.
All right, we're going to take another quick break, leaving you with this live picture from the National Harbor of our Fox 5 Skycam. When we come back, we are talking about hitting the road with a group of mothers. The Great Mother March about to kick off and make its way to Washington, D.C. We're going to talk to the founder all about it coming up in 2 minutes.
Yes. One-hit wonder, Tommy Two Times.
Tommy, we were just talking about 8675309. Tommy Two Times.
He was counting us down, so it was like, okay.
Anyway.
It was well done.
We go down these tangents, and
do.
sometimes I do feel that we've got potential to have like a show together
We do.
someday.
Well, we have a
And
show,
yeah.
though.
That's a joke.
You mean like it's a talk show? I
Yeah,
can see that.
I
man.
mean,
I
listen.
can see that.
Fortunately, we have a QR code so people can tell us what
Yes.
they actually want to hear us talk about.
Like, I want a Phil Donahue moment at some point on this show, where like we bring the fans in, we bring the microphone up,
A unique and powerful journey is currently unfolding across the Southeast. A group of women-led walkers making their way from Asheville, North Carolina to Washington, D.C., arriving on Earth Day 2026 to seed compassionate change with each step. You're looking at the graphic for it. It's called the Great Mother March. It's a 32-day pilgrimage devoted to healing, unity, and the power of the feminine. But this isn't just a walk. It's a moving work of art, a living prayer, and a community invitation. So to learn more about it, we are going to turn to the founder, Whitney Freya, joining us now live on the Live Zone Primetime. Whitney, thanks so much for joining us here tonight.
Thank you for inviting me.
Okay, so for people around the DMV, they may have just seen a walk coming our way, and it got huge support, huge numbers. Was that an inspiration at all for this march that you guys are kicking off?
Yeah, so we've had this march planned, the website up for a year, and the monks have been an incredible affirmation of the inspiration for this march, which is literally to be boots on the ground, meeting people face to face, and uniting under what we all have in common, so much more than what divides us.
Whitney, one of the things that your organization has mentioned is compassionate change, compassionate action throughout this walk, and that's the statement you want to make to the world. What does that compassionate action look like to you in terms of, not just policy, but in terms of how we interact with each other in this world?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we are always going to have different opinions, right? We are a diverse humanity as well as a diverse country. And so really what the feminine does is create and hold space for newness to emerge, right? So we want to be that energy, meeting communities, inviting community members to participate with us through creative projects in a way that is radically accepting and expressing what we are for. And so we're doing that, anticipating and excited to meet people with different opinions and different backgrounds, and uniting under a shared love for our earth, and honoring all that connects us, like so many more things that we are united under rather than against. And it just can feel like a very divided world right now, and I think when you actually get face to face with people, there's so much more that we can connect on than we can, fight against. So this is an expression and an opportunity to lean into what's possible together.
So let's get into some of the nitty gritty about this. Not only what is the Great Mother March, but also some of the stops that you plan to make along the way. And then what you have planned once you make it to Washington, D.C.
Absolutely. So we are starting in Asheville, North Carolina, and walking through Boone, North Carolina, into Virginia, down near Independence, Galax, Floyd, Ferrum, Rocky Mount. We arrive there on Easter Day and are being hosted by a whole community of churches at a community center. And then we're also walking through Lynchburg. We have our one non-walking day in Charlottesville at Ix Art Park. And then we walk up to Warrenton, where I am right now, and into DC. At each stop, we are inviting the community to join us in a collaborative mural. We're painting a massive, 14-foot diameter mural inspired by Mother Earth to symbolize our creative ability to create change, to vision into new realities, and to do it together. So when we get to DC, we are circling up around that mural, sharing stories, singing songs, and setting an intention for a return to balance, where we understand that each other's differences are actually what make us stronger, that the feminine, creativity and receptivity and vision are meant to be supported and complemented by the masculine. And it's a dance, right? So we don't have any policy demands. We are simply illuminating an embodiment of what is possible when we let go of the dualities and come together with that, great mother. Like, imagine, the largest, most loving expression of the feminine coming in right now. And what would she do, right? And that is anchoring in really a call, again, step by step, day by day, to look for what unites us rather than what divides us.
And just to follow up on that, for all of our viewers out there who might be wondering, you do not need to be either a mother or a feminine to take part in this. This is open to everybody, correct?
Absolutely. It is a very inclusive event. We do actually all have feminine and masculine energies within
That's
us.
exactly
We have
right.
the part of ourselves that can go get things done, and then we also have the part of ourselves that loves to create and imagine into possibilities. And so when those are both respected and honored, that's when we can really move forward powerfully and united while still allowing for each other's differences.
You answered my next question, because I could not agree more with that statement. Especially among men, I think we need to embrace more of our feminine side because it's dormant in a lot of men. But I digress. So when looking at the process of setting up this walk, what have you noticed about the people that have been joining this movement in the last few months to get ready for this? And what does it tell you about how your message is resonating?
Well, what I do love is that people seem to understand right away, feel a call. This is something positive. This is something life affirming. This is a place where I can send my energy and my attention and imagine that growing and expanding and making me feel good and hopeful about the world that we're living in. We have been in intimate communication with Virginia Department of Transportation, with local police and sheriffs, and every single municipality has been incredibly welcoming and supportive and wanting to create a safe space for the Great Mother March, as well as for the community to come and share and interact. Besides painting the mural, there may be songs that we're singing, there may be wisdom circles, speakers. It is truly a container where the communities can collaborate on this experience. In Warrenton here, the locals are organizing an art walk on Main Street. I've been an entrepreneur for 29 years. I've owned restaurants and art centers, and I know what it's like for small town Main Street to have a large audience. And so we are activating what can be referred to as sacred reciprocity. We're showing up with a level of vulnerability, right? Like tired and hungry.
Exactly.
And need hospitality, and then also offering experiences and real connection.
Sacred reciprocity. I love that. I got to use that at some point. So you talked about, getting in contact with different municipalities and, of course, being hungry in this walk. It's a major physical occasion that you're doing here. How are you and your fellow organizers and walkers getting prepared for this trek, which is going to be a test of resilience, as well as, of course, putting that compassionate energy out into the world? How are you all preparing for it to make sure that it goes smoothly and that you all, of course, are healthy at each stop?
Yeah. Well, it's been really wonderful to see the community already collaborating. We have a Facebook group that's open to anybody, so people can participate whether or not you're joining the march. We have a sister march in Spain that's happening as well, just a one-day event on March 22nd. We have people offering, tips for boosting your immunity. We have people that have created videos for us who run 200-mile races, how to do the foot exercises and the socks to buy and the shoes to buy. We are walking. I hope people are out there walking. And also, this isn't for extreme athletes. This isn't in the realm of the ultra walks or anything. We have support vehicles, like circles of people, 4 or 5 people have a car that they're using to transport their overnight gear. And also, it's going to be heavily encouraged to get in a car, drive the rest of the way if you're done walking. We're also going to have shifts so that there's always boots on the ground, walking and, offering connection and a smile. We have people all over the world painting little palm-sized hearts on paper for us to pass out. We have hearts arriving from Australia and India, Northern Europe. Communities are getting together, families, schools. The Art Museum in Asheville is hosting an event to invite people to paint hearts that we are going to share and hand out as we walk. So we're preparing, on all the levels, and most importantly, I think is, just the question and the contemplation is, how do we meet these times? And I believe there is a role for reactionary actions, movements where people show up to express what they do not want to experience in their communities. And likewise, there is a need for visionary movements where people can see and understand what's possible. We are expressing only what we are for. We are picking up garbage along the way. We are a 0 single-use plastic water bottle zone. We are bringing our own to-go containers. We are emphasizing as well care for Mother Earth and the sacred reciprocity that is there that we would like to continue.
Whitney, we're down to our final minute or so. If people want to get involved, where should they go to learn more information? And do people need to commit to walking the entire distance from Asheville to Washington, D.C., or can they join along the way and go as far as they might be able to?
Yeah, absolutely. So go to greatmothermarch.com. You can submit your email. That will get you information. Also, an opportunity to fill out a registration form. You can join for all or part of the march. We will have headquarters in each community that will be on the website once we're marching. And you do need to come to the headquarters, register, sign the waiver, get the wristband. We want to make sure everybody is unified in the understanding of what they're signing up for. And then again, there's information on there how to serve as a route steward. Every man I meet in this march, I am like, so excited to see, and we need the men. We want the men, serving as our route stewards. And so there are lots of ways to get involved. We're on Instagram at Great Mother March, Great Mother March on Facebook. And then while we're marching, please tune in. It is intended to provide, an oasis in the social media land and with the headlines to illuminate that we do actually have much more in common, that if you go through your day and look around you, there is way more love and connection happening than anything else. So we are making that visible and intending to put it as front and center as possible.
All right, Whitney Freya from the Great Mother March, thank you so much for spending some time with us and letting people know about your great event.
Good luck.
Thank you.
All right, Tony P., we are down to our final 7 minutes of the show, which means pressure is on. We're going to talk about what else you were keeping your eye on today, and you have 7 minutes and 15 seconds to get it done. Let's dive right in.
We're going to start right here in D.C., kind of talking about the Texas race here. President Donald Trump has signaled he plans to endorse soon in the closely watched Texas Republican Senate primary runoff between Senator John Cornyn and Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton. The two advanced to a runoff after neither secured a majority of the first round of voting. President Trump wrote on Truth Social that the Republican fight must stop now, unquote, saying he intends to back one candidate and encourage the other to step aside. And California Governor Gavin Newsom drew national attention today during remarks on his book tour when discussing Israel's policies towards Palestinians. Newsom said Israel could be described as a quote-unquote sort of an apartheid state, and framing the comment as criticism of what he called segregation and discrimination in the region. The remarks sparked immediate backlash from pro-Israel groups while also drawing support from critics of the Israeli government. On Capitol Hill, the fight over the Epstein files escalated today as the House Oversight Committee voted to subpoena Attorney General Pam Bondi over the Justice Department's handling of documents tied to Jeffrey Epstein. The move followed pressure from Representative Nancy Mace and other lawmakers who argued that the department had not fully complied with the Epstein Files Transparency Act passed by Congress in 2025. Lawmakers want Bondi to testify about why some records were withheld and how the Justice Department handled the release as well as redactions. The Justice Department is reviewing currently and has reviewed claims that former President Joe Biden and his aides may have improperly used the mechanical signature device to authorize pardons or other executive actions without his direct approval. Prosecutors, though, today examined whether these laws were broken, and investigators ultimately could not find sufficient evidence to bring criminal charges. According to people familiar with the matter, the Department of Justice quietly dropped the probe after determining it could not build a viable, winnable case against President Biden, former President Biden, or his allies. Congress is moving closer to what could become the first major federal housing legislation in more than a decade. A bipartisan package led by Senators Tim Scott and Elizabeth Warren advanced with an 86-4 vote in the Senate today. Known as the 21st Century Road to Housing Act, the proposal aims to increase housing supply by cutting regulatory barriers, streamlining environmental reviews, expanding the use of community development block grant funds, and updating federal housing development programs, including adding in a restriction backed by President Trump to prevent major investment groups from buying residential housing in bulk. That'll be a big part of this policy. In aviation news, American Airlines today received approval to resume regular passenger flights to Venezuela, becoming the first U.S. carrier cleared to restore service since flights were halted in 2019 during escalating political tensions. The airline previously flew routes between Miami and cities including Caracas and Marciabo. American Airlines said schedules and routes are still being finalized as travel restrictions will begin to ease. In the world of hamburgers, we have a burger war, my friends. A viral social media moment sparked an unexpected fast food rivalry. McDonald's CEO Chris Kempinski posted a video this week promoting the company's Big Arch Burger, which features 2 beef patties and white cheddar as well as onions. Viewers mocked the CEO's tiny bite in the clip, prompting Burger King to respond with its own video showing its president taking a much larger bite of the competitor Whopper, turning this moment into a viral marketing showdown between the chains, which also includes Wendy's as of today, where their CEO got involved because they are so known for giving a lot of feedback on social media. In the world of entertainment, Jim Carrey's publicist shut down a bizarre conspiracy theory circulating online, claiming the actor had been replaced by a clone at recent award shows. The rumors spread after a prosthetic artist, Alexis Stone, posted a video wearing highly realistic makeup designed to resemble Carrey. Carrey's representatives quickly dismissed the claim as internet misinformation fueled by the viral prosthetic demonstration. Jack Schlossberg, JFK Jr.'s nephew and grandson of former President John F. Kennedy, called the new love story documentary show on FX about his uncle and Carolyn Bessette a grotesque display, unquote, and accused creator Ryan Murphy of exploiting the couple's lives without consulting the family. Schlossberg said the series fictionalizes key parts of their story and urged Murphy to donate profits of the show to causes his uncle supported, including the JFK Library. And finally, Justin Timberlake is taking legal action tied to his 2024 DWI arrests in Sag Harbor. Police say that Timberlake ran a stop sign and showed signs of impairment during the traffic stop, and his attorneys have now filed a motion seeking to block the public release of police body camera footage from the arrest, arguing that releasing the video could prejudice the legal process as the case continues in court. How did I do, sir?
Tony P, you absolutely
Can I breathe? A couple stutters, but I had to get through it.
2.5 minutes to spare. What the hell are we going to talk about? No, I'm kidding. Justin Timberlake, I'm
a champion.
I don't think Justin Timberlake wants everyone in the world to see him saying on body camera footage, "This is going to ruin the tour." Or whatever he said, the world.
That'll be a viral gif
that
or meme
was
thing. Yeah.
one of those quotes that just it lives rent free in my brain. I'm pretty sure executive producer Jeff Gygax would say that to me like once a day for the next 3 months.
Oh, totally.
Afterwards.
It's going to ruin
in
the
regards to anything we talked about. This is going to ruin the tour.
Yes.
He would just say that.
That'd be a great social media video
whatsoever. Tony P, I know you haven't watched it, and I don't know whether you have any plans to watch it, but I am a few episodes into this love story mini-series from Ryan Murphy.
I call it a documentary.
It's explicitly not a documentary.
No, it's
that
not.
was part of Jack Schlossberg's beef with it.
Yes.
He basically said there will be a lot of people that take this as fact. There is a title card at the beginning of every episode that says there have been some creative licenses taken.
Right.
It is based on a book, but they do take dramatic license, and that is key to remember. Whereas some of the major details, the facts, the life, the love story, and what happened at the end are true. Some of the day-to-day things that they are, detailing and documenting, they are Hollywood magic.
Well, and that's the thing. I think, and just to be fully transparent, Jack Schlossberg and I are acquaintances. We follow each other on social media. We're fans of one another. And I just think he's right when it comes to consulting the family. Like, at least talk to them. At least, or if you were going to do it before, set up maybe a fund to support the JFK Library or the Kennedy Center. It's going through a lot of attacks right now from the administration. I do really side with Jack, even though I do have a bias. I do side with Jack on this one. I think it's too much.
Listen,
exploitation.
here's what I'll just say is this is one of those sort of situations. This is a family that has been the center of attention and public fascination for decades. They are not strangers to this in any way, shape, or form. Unfortunately, though, is a family that has been just touched by tragedy every
time.
step
Tragedy.
of the way.
I think it's time for us to let them be.
Yeah,
please.
So,
not to be too angry,
but that guy looks so much like JFK. I mean,
he does.
He is a handsome, handsome man, and people are obsessed with the show. We're out of time. Fox 5 News at 10 coming up next here on Fox Local. Have a great night.